Pence ends campaign for the White House after struggling to gain traction with a Press Herald subscription. You can gift 5 articles each month. Karen Pence, left, kisses former Vice President Mike Pence at an annual leadership meeting of the Republican Jewish Coalition on Saturday, in Las Vegas. John Locher, Associated Press, New York. Former Vice President Mike Pence on Saturday dropped his bid for the Republican presidential nomination, ending his campaign for the White House after struggling to raise money and gain traction in the polls. Time equals 400 Ms. greater than, it's become clear to me. This is not my time, Pence said at the Republican Jewish Coalition's annual gathering in Las Vegas. So after much prayer and deliberation, I have decided to suspend my campaign for president effective today. We always knew this would be an uphill battle, but I have no regrets, Pence went on to tell the friendly audience, which reacted with audible surprise to the announcement and gave him multiple standing ovations. Pence is the first major candidate to leave a race that has been dominated by his former boss-turned-rival, Donald Trump, and his struggles underscore just how much Trump has transformed the party. A former vice president would typically be seen as a formidable challenger in any primary, but Pence has struggled to find a base of support. Former Vice President Mike Pence speaks at the annual leadership meeting of the Republican Jewish Coalition on Friday, November 18, 2022, in Las Vegas. John Locher, Associated Press file. Time equals 400 Ms. greater than. Pence did not immediately endorse any of his rivals but continued to echo language he has used to criticize Trump. I urge all my fellow Republicans here, give our country a Republican standard-bearer that will, as Lincoln said, appeal to the better angels of our nature, and not only lead us to victory but lead our nation with civility, he said. Advertisement. Pence's decision, more than 2 months before the Iowa caucuses that he had staked his campaign on, saves him from accumulating additional debt, as well as the embarrassment of potentially failing to qualify for the third Republican primary debate, on November 8 in Miami. But his withdrawal is a huge blow for a politician who spent years biding his time as Trump's most loyal lieutenant, only to be scapegoated during their final days in office when Trump became convinced that Pence somehow had the power to overturn the results of the 2020 election and keep both men in office, a power Pence did not possess. While Pence averted a constitutional crisis by rejecting the scheme, he drew Trump's fury, as well as the wrath of many of Trump's supporters, who still believed his lies about the election and saw Pence as a traitor, among Trump critics. Meanwhile, Pence was seen as an enabler who defended the former president at every turn and refused to criticize even Trump's most indefensible actions time and again. As a result, an Associated Press New York Center for Public Affairs research from August found that the majority of U.S. adults, 57%, viewed Pence negatively, with only 28% having a positive view. Throughout his campaign, the former Indiana governor and congressman had insisted that while he was well known by voters, he was not known well, and set out to change that with an aggressive schedule that included numerous stops at diners and Pizza Ranch restaurants. Time equals 400 Ms. greater than. Advertisement. Pence had been betting on Iowa, a state with a large white evangelical population that has a long history of elevating religious and socially conservative candidates such as former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee and former Pennsylvania Rick Santorum. Pence often campaigned with his wife, Karen, a Christian school teacher, and emphasized his hardline views on issues such as abortion, which he opposes even in cases when a pregnancy is unviable. He repeatedly called on his fellow candidates to support a minimum 15-week national ban, and he pushed to ban drugs used as alternatives to surgical procedures. He tried to confront his actions on January 6, 2021, explaining to voters over and over that he had done his constitutional duty that day, knowing full well the political consequences. It was a strategy that aides believed would help diffuse the issue and earn Pence the respect of a majority of Republicans, whom they were convinced did not agree with Trump's actions. But even in Iowa, Pence struggled to gain traction. He had an equally uphill climb raising money, despite years-long relationships with donors. Pence ended September with just $1.18 million in the bank and $621,000 in debt, according to his most recent campaign filing. That debt had grown in the weeks since, and adding to it would have taken Pence, who is not independently wealthy, years to pay off. The Associated Press first reported earlier this month that people close to Pence had begun to feel that remaining a candidate risked diminishing his long-term standing in the party, given Trump's dominating lead in the race for the 2024 nomination. While they said Pence could stick it out until the January 15 Iowa caucuses if he wanted, campaigning on a shoestring budget and accumulating debt, he would have to consider how that might affect his ability to remain a leading voice in the conservative movement, as he hopes. Some said the Hamas attack on Israel in October, which pushed foreign policy to the forefront of the campaign, had given Pence a renewed sense of purpose given his warnings throughout the campaign against the growing tide of isolationism in the Republican Party. Pence had argued that he was the race's most experienced candidate and decried voices of appeasement among Republicans, arguing they had emboldened groups such as Hamas. Advertisement. Time equals 400 ms. greater than, but ultimately, Pence concluded that he could continue to speak out on the issue without continuing the campaign. He chose the Las Vegas event to announce his decision, in part, so he could address the topic one last time before formally leaving the race. He is expected to remain engaged, in part, through Advancing American Freedom, the conservative think tank he founded after leaving the vice presidency, and that he envisions it as an alternative to the Heritage Foundation. Pence's group is expected to continue to advocate for policies that he supported in his run, including pushing for more U.S. support for Ukraine's defense against the Russian invasion and proposed cuts to Social Security and Medicare to rein in the debt. Such ideas were once the bread and butter of Republican establishment orthodoxy but have fallen out of favor as the party has embraced Trump's isolationist and populist views. Associated Press writer Michelle L. Price in Las Vegas contributed to this report. Invalid username, password. Please check your email to confirm and complete your registration. Create a commenting profile by providing an email address, password and display name. You will receive an email to complete the registration. Please note the display name will appear on screen when you participate. Email address, password, display name already registered? Log in to join the discussion. Only subscribers are eligible to post comments. Please subscribe or log in first for digital access. Here's why. Use the form below to reset your password. When you've submitted your account email, we will send an email with a reset code. Email address in questions, comments to the editors. Previous Christian conservatives cheer as Mike Johnson assumes Congress's most powerful seat filed under